You think your resume just needs to be clean, honest, and professional. But what you don't know is that the average recruiter spends less than 6 seconds skimming it, if it even gets to their eyes in the first place. I'm AJ Mizes, and at Meta, I sat on the inside of hiring systems that filtered out tens of thousands of resumes within 10 seconds. I watched brilliant people get ignored simply because their documents didn't speak the language of the machine or the human behind it. Most of those people weren't unqualified, they just followed bad advice. They had the experience, but nobody in power ever found out about them. Today, I'm gonna show you how to fix that because the resume is your pitch deck and you've got 6 seconds to win. If you've ever spotted any hidden job search mistakes before most people do, tell me below. Even better, drop the moment that you realize that it was sabotaging your own applications. I guarantee that somebody else here needs to hear your story. Now, the problem is that your resume isn't getting noticed. That's exactly why you're not getting interviews. And maybe you already know this. You spot a job, you apply for it, and then you don't get any response. And you wonder why this keeps happening. You might even take this rejection personally. You might assume that you weren't qualified enough or that somebody had more experience, but that's not what's happening. In most cases, you weren't even rejected. Instead, you were filtered or you were auto-deleted, or maybe you were flagged as irrelevant by a robot. The moment that you hit submit, your resume enters an applicant tracking system, which is an algorithm designed to scan, sort, and discard applications before they even reach a human. And these systems eliminate most candidates in seconds. And while you might think only the bad resumes get trashed, the reality is that the ATS will trash any resume with the wrong keywords, with irrelevant formatting, with generic headlines. And I'm talking about headlines like experienced professional seeking opportunity. In some cases, it can happen because of subtle issues like file types and fancy fonts. Again, you might already know this is happening. So what do? You make changes to your resume. But instead of making your resume better, most people quietly sabotage it, and they do it without even knowing it. How do they know that? They tweak the wrong things. They'll spend hours experimenting with colors while trying to make things pop. They'll add icons and symbols and little logos of past companies thinking that it's gonna make them stand out. And many candidates debate endlessly whether it should be 1 page or 2. Like that's the deciding factor between getting hired or ghosted. But none of that matters if the algorithm can't read it. And in most cases, it can't. Why? Because you have to download resume templates off Canva that look modern. But these templates break when scanned by applicant tracking systems. You've used job titles like marketing rockstar or sales ninja that mean nothing to a machine that's trained to look for marketing manager or account executive. And the worst scenario is that you've stuffed keywords into your resume like it's SEO. You're repeating the same terms over and over, hoping to game the system. But the ATS tools are scoring for context. And if your resume doesn't read like it actually solves problems, it's out. All the effort is misdirected if you focus the resume as a design object instead of a strategic tool. That's why you have to re-engineer your resume to be scan-proof and impact-loaded. So here's how to do that. First, match the job description word for word. So use the exact phrases and keywords that you see in the job posting, especially in the top third of the page, because it's the first part that the ATS system and the recruiters eventually scan. Then, lead with a summary that sells. So ditch the fluffy open to new challenges intro. Replace it with a bold headline like, I help SaaS companies reduce churn by 23% using customer success automation. Focus on who you help and what you solve and how it works. And then rebuild your bullets with this exact formula: problem, action, and result. So for example, instead of saying manage social media campaigns, you should say launch targeted social campaigns that increase engagement by 42% in 60 days. The goal is to make the numbers do the talking. So for example, say something like built an onboarding system that reduced employee ramp-up time by 50%, or created X that led to Y in Z timeframe. And most importantly, format for clarity instead of creativity. So use simple, readable fonts like Arial or Calibri. And then use basic headers like experience, skills, and education. You don't want to include columns, tables, charts, or icons because they confuse the ATS scanners. And then save as a PDF unless the system requests a doc or text. Remember, your resume is no longer a list of jobs. It's a pitch deck. It's a sales tool, and it should answer one question: can this person solve the problems that we're hiring for? If your resume doesn't scream, yes, and here's how, you're out before the game even starts. But even the perfect resume fails if you don't apply at the right time. So let me explain. You see, most job seekers believe that applications are a numbers game. Apply to 50 jobs, hear back from 5. Apply to 100, maybe get lucky with 10. So they mass apply and they do it endlessly. And it feels like progress, but it's usually a waste of time because by the time that a job hits a big job board like LinkedIn or Indeed or Glassdoor, it's already old news to the company. That job may have been internally circulated for days, maybe even weeks. So by the time that you apply, there's already 200 plus resumes in the pile. And logically, the first 10 to 20 applications are most likely to be interviewed. Recruiters don't always comb through every submission. Sometimes they do, but often they don't. And they have to move fast, so what they do is they scan quickly. And if your application lands late, you've lost before you've begun. So what do most people do in response? They try harder, they apply more, but it's not about effort, it's about timing. So you need to time your application so that you have a better chance of hitting the bullseye. Don't just rely on LinkedIn jobs that thousands of others are seeing and then it's too late. Instead, set up customized alerts on niche job boards that cater specifically to your industry or to your role. And then you can go one step further and subscribe directly to the career pages of your top 20 target companies. Most roles are posted there first or only briefly before being pulled offline once filled internally. These alerts help you act quickly before the role becomes overrun with applicants. If you're applying online, time it for Tuesday or Wednesday mornings. Why? Because hiring managers and recruiters are buried in meetings on Mondays and mentally checked out on Fridays. Midweek is when they're most alert and scanning for strong leads, which means that your application is more likely to be seen while they're focused and receptive. And if you truly want to separate yourself from the masses, stop waiting for a job to be posted. Instead, start engaging with target companies before the roles hit LinkedIn. So that might mean commenting on leadership posts, sharing industry insights, or DMing a hiring manager with a thoughtful note about their recent company news. By the time the role is public, you're already on their radar and you're seen as being proactive. So in a nutshell, 5 precise targeted applications will always beat sending 100 with no direction. But you still might not get the call back, even if your resume and timing is flawless, because recruiters Google you before they call you, and what they find can quietly disqualify you. You wouldn't show up to an interview in sweats and a hoodie, right? But a lot of people do the digital equivalent every single day. Your first impression doesn't happen in the interview. It doesn't even happen when you apply. It happens the moment that someone Googles your name. And that's what every recruiter does before they ever call. They open up your LinkedIn, they glance at your headline, they scan your post, your activity, your profile picture, and even your banner. And in less than 10 seconds, they formed a snap judgment. Does this person look like they belong in the room? Your LinkedIn headline says, open to new opportunities, which reads as, I'm waiting, I'm passive, I have no clear value, and I'll take anything. Or maybe your profile looks generic with a dry list of job titles and dates, and it doesn't have a professional banner or a well-written About Me section. Worse, maybe your social media creates confusion. There are old tweets that contradict your resume, or there's a TikTok rant from 2 years ago. It might seem unfair, but in today's world, your digital footprint is part of the interview. It's your reputation and it's your narrative. And if it raises questions instead of giving answers, you're out. That's why I want you to treat your online presence as your second resume. And that involves revamping your entire social media presence. We're just getting into the real game changers, but if even one of these have already opened your eyes, you're not alone. So if you want to break out of the resume black hole for good, tap that subscribe button, and I'm going to help you land a role that you're actually proud of. Now, I want you to start with LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn profile is your digital storefront, and your headline is your front sign. So stop wasting it with unemployed or seeking new opportunities. Instead, use that space to clearly state who you are, what you solve, and for whom. So I want you to think talent leader driving scalable growth for high growth startups, or marketing exec, DTC growth, Sephora, and Stitch Fix. Then pair that with a custom banner that aligns visually with your brand, whether it's a sleek image of your industry, a speaking engagement, or something about the company mission. Then rewrite your about section like a mini story. So who do you help? What problems do you solve? What results have you driven? Make it short, clear, and results-based. And then go through your job entries and add metrics. So instead of managed email campaigns, say, built an email onboarding flow that increased customer retention by 23% in 6 months. And most importantly, engage with industry content. You have to be seen and be noticed by leaders in your industry. Before you start networking or applying, Google yourself. So look at what shows up on page 1, what shows up on page 2, and then delete or hide outdated blog posts, or maybe inactive Twitter accounts, or anything else that no longer reflects who you are. Update your bios across all public platforms so that ensures consistency in your title, your industry language, and your personal values. And then do a digital detox on all those platforms. Delete irrelevant, outdated, or unclear content. If it doesn't support your professional image, it weakens it. When a recruiter lands on your page, they're asking one silent question: can I picture this person in the role? And your job is to make sure that the answer is absolutely yes. If you're still here, you've probably understood that the most smart, capable professionals stay stuck not because they're unqualified, but because their strategy is outdated or just plain wrong. That's exactly why I built The Human Reach, a career coaching and leadership consulting firm trusted by execs at Tesla, Pixar, Salesforce, Meta, Google, and more. I've helped thousands of professionals transform their job search and hit career milestones that they thought were out of reach. If you're tired of playing by broken rules and you're ready for a personalized strategy that gets results, then book a free strategy call with us right now. We're gonna audit your approach, show what's blocking your breakthrough, and help you create a roadmap that actually works. So book your call by tapping on the link on your screen or in the description box below. We'll see you there.